Hello everybody. Fix my microphone here. There we go. Quick chat today about the Open, the 2023 CrossFit Games Open. It's almost upon us. It'll be here before we realize it. I did a little poking around today and I'm almost positive that the first CrossFit Games Open will happen on February 17th, so in a couple months from now. And that is a Thursday. So the first CrossFit Games Open workout for 2023, I believe, is February 17th, which is a Thursday. And so this hopefully will live as a reference point for any questions that come up in the future about doing the Open, what's Linchpin got going on, are we programming for it, and all that good stuff. So this is my point to everyone towards this video deal. So, since it'll happen on a Thursday, is when I believe they will be released, Friday, we're going to post our normal workout. I've done the programming for the week. It all lines up. It's all where it's supposed to be. And so whatever Friday's workout is supposed to be is going to be the regular Linchpin workout that day. However, what's cool is since the Open happened last year, we've added a workout option to the private track. So now we have the prescribed workout of the day. We've always had the scaled. We've always had the dumbbell option, and we've always had the no equipment option, at least for quite some time. Recently, within the last year or so, we have an option that lives between prescribed and scaled called the wild card option. Very popular option, by the way. So what I'm going to do is, for the Open workouts on the next day, so they get posted on a Thursday, they become live on a Thursday, on Friday, the regular Linchpin workout will be the prescribed workout of the day. But then in the BTWB app, the wild card option on Friday will be whatever the Open workout happens to be. So whatever 23.1 is will be the wild card option on the Linchpin track on that very next day, on that Friday. So if you decide you want to do the Open, you're participating in the Open, tap the wild card option, bang, it's already there. It's in the app, knock it out, log, and you're totally good to go. And the Open, I believe, like last year, is going to be 3 weeks long, so we'll do that for each Friday, for the 3 weeks of the Open. So it'll just live as the wildcard option, and then you're totally good to go. Now, you could do it on any day that you wanted, right? Maybe you want to do it on the Thursday that it gets announced, or maybe Friday doesn't work for you and you want to wait till the weekend. You want to do it on a Saturday. Easy day, just like it was last year. All you need to do in the BTWB app is use the little search feature, that little magnifying glass. Tap on that and just write in, Open 23.1, and it'll pop up, and then boom, it's right there. You can log your score and be good to go. So it's literally that easy, no matter what day you want to do it on, but it will live on Fridays as the wildcard option. So I think that'll be a great way to kind of meet everybody where they are and have a good experience for everybody. Now the Open's interesting, right? Because it's different things to different people. That's one way to say it. Some people are absolutely lunatic, crazy, obsessed with it. Placement of where they do in the Open is extremely important to them. They redo workouts, whatever it happens to be. They rearrange their whole week. More power to you. Again, the Open can be whatever you want it to be. That's great. Other people do it just purely for fun. Period, end of story. They don't stress about it. They really don't care where the placement is. They certainly aren't going to redo anything. They're just doing it for funsies. I would say that's largely where I fall. And the Open is, of course, voluntary. Completely 100% voluntary. Nobody has to do the Open. Not everybody wants to do the Open. And so that's why I don't force people to do it by making it the prescribed Linchpin workout that day. Not everybody wants to do it. If you want to do it, great, throw it down. It'll be the wildcard option. You want to do it, awesome, have a good time. You can use the search feature, like I said. And whether you're a hardcore lunatic about it or just for fun, there's something for everybody. And my plan is to do the Open this year. I do the Open every year, and my plan is to do it again this year. This is potentially a bit of a rabbit hole, but we'll go down it anyway because people always enjoy a rabbit hole. Do you know why open workouts tend to just seem to hit people so hard and just leave people on the floor hyperventilating, feeling like they just got hit by a truck? Do you know why? There's an actual reason. It's not a magical reason. It's something we chat about all the time. It's your friend and mine, intensity. That's why. Because the open workout, or any workout that you choose, but specifically with the open workouts, many people just make a decision that this particular workout on this particular day is more special and more important, and I'm just going to go full send. And that workout leaves you laying on the back. If you made that decision on almost any workout, you would be met with a similar experience. But people tend to do it, because they make the open, they get fired up and they do it. And that's fantastic. Again, that's why the open can be anything that you want it to be, which is really cool. Anywhere from just having fun to crazy psycho lunatic. Now, we've touched on this in just a total dedicated podcast, but I'll just mention it briefly. If you've actually been doing CrossFit, you'll be ready for the open. And you'll be ready to bring the heat with some intensity if you so desire. And when I say actually doing CrossFit, I mean living your life largely in couplets and triplets, understanding intensity, modulating your intensity, making sure that you bring some intensity every now and then so you know what that fire feels like, backing off every now and then so you can have those good days, respecting the heavy days, not biasing what you're doing, not biasing it in any direction to just the barbell, to just monostructural, to just gymnastics, but doing actual well-rounded programming and not avoiding movements and working on your weaknesses, that's classic, beautiful, pure CrossFit. You'll be ready for the open. You'll be totally good to go, 100% good to go. And like I say every year, I'm not a believer in open prep. I think open prep, for most people, now you can always find one or two people that it works wonderfully for, but for most people, I think open prep is a silly gimmick and clever marketing and clickbait. And again, if you're actually doing CrossFit all year long, actual true CrossFit, you should be wonderfully prepared for the open, because the open should be one of the most pure expressions of actual CrossFit. And then things will become accessible to all of us with movements and loadings and time domains and things like that. And then it becomes less inclusive and more selective, and less inclusive and more selective as the season progresses on and the level of competition rises and cuts are made and all of that. But it's step one at the open, it's just pure CrossFit. And if there was ever something that should be pure CrossFit, that's it. So if you're doing CrossFit, you're ready for CrossFit. You're like, well, I'm doing CrossFit all year long. There's going to be CrossFit in the open. I better prep for CrossFit. That doesn't make any sense. Now, if you haven't been doing CrossFit all year long, yes. If you've been doing any sort of a biased programming, well then yes, you're in hot water. And you probably haven't been spending your time in just classic, beautiful couplets and triplets, bringing some intensity, feeling that burning. Yeah, the open's going to catch you unawares, and well then, yeah, you probably should do something. But if you're actually doing CrossFit, you don't need to prep for the open. You'll be totally good to go. What else did I want to say there? Now, don't get me wrong, the open workouts are cool, and while they are inclusive to everybody, they have to be programmed also in such a manner that the vast majority of the CrossFitting population can do them, right? Because if you couldn't, then why would anybody even sign up? Doesn't make any sense. So they have to be welcoming. But at the same time, either as the workout goes on, movements increase in complexity, or as the workout goes on, loadings potentially change, or there's a time domain that, most of us will get a certain distance into the workouts, but the best of the best will actually finish it, and therefore they get placed high on the leaderboard. Could be a short break followed by some sort of a heavy lift or something like that. There's going to be something in the programming, there has to be, where we can all play, but they also at the same time allow the cream to rise to the top and pre-screen for who are the individuals that should advance to the next level of competition. And that all can be accomplished in workouts that we can all do, love, and enjoy at the same time. That's, a huge part of the Open. But like I said, you'll be ready for it because you're doing CrossFit. If you haven't been doing CrossFit and you've been doing a heavy lift every day followed by parts 2, 3, 4, and 5, then you're probably actually in trouble. Because as we've been very open and honest about, and we share the stories of other people, if you're doing part 2, 3, 4, and 5 every day, you can't do that, most of us anyway, you can't do that much every day with intensity. I've heard athletes describe it as they're in survival mode. They got to do so much work every day that they can't bring any intensity, so they're just in a mediocre fashion going through each part because they're so darn tired, and they got to do it again tomorrow, and they got to do it again tomorrow. Well, now of course, when you're facing just one workout in the Open and you're going to go full send, of course you feel like a truck hit you because you're not prepared to actually do that. But I digress. And there are some things in the Open, as wonderful as it is, just know what it is. It's what I just said. Fun community event. We're all having a good time. You want to see where you are on the leaderboard? Great. Check it out. If you don't care, great. No worries. Pre-screen for individuals that will advance to a further level of competition and eventually find the fittest on earth, right? We're just doing step 1 here. What no one should do is think because they do or do not see a certain movement in the Open that movement is more or less important than anything else. It just means for whatever reason this year, these movements were selected, and the movements that weren't selected doesn't mean that they were inferior, they just weren't selected. And don't think that it somehow is a degradation of their efficacy. So for example, I would take out a large bet in Vegas that you will not see knees to elbows in the CrossFit Open. If you see something similar to it, it would most likely be a toes to bar. That would be my guess. Since toes to bar make an appearance in the Open and knees to elbows don't, does that mean that toes to bar are a quote-unquote better movement than knees to elbows? I'm willing to die on this hill and say, absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, if you told me I could only do one of those two movements for midline development for the rest of my life, it would be one of the easiest decisions in the world, and I would choose knees to elbows. If I had to say which I thought was an actual superior movement, which is a bold claim to say, I would say it's knees to elbows for how much you have to actually flex at the midline to bring your knees up to truly touch your elbows is going to be superior for most people with nice loose hamstrings to get their toes to the bar. And it also is a heck of a lot more work on the lats to do knees to elbows as well. You can feel like you did a set of pull-ups after doing some serious knees to elbows. So why won't knees to elbows make an appearance in the Open? Because they're really hard to judge. They're incredibly effective and incredibly useful and incredibly beneficial, and everybody should be doing them, in my opinion. But they're really tough to judge in a fast-moving competition setting. They're awesome in a training setting. So the nod is probably going to go to toes to bar. Cool. Now, if you see that in the Open, and you're like, well, I never see knees to elbows in the Open, and I never see knees to elbows in the games, and I never see knees to elbows wherever it is, so I'm not going to do knees to elbows in my training. I can see how, to the uninitiated, you could follow that bouncing ball, but I feel you have made a grave mistake in your reading of the room on that one. And there are several movements which fall into that sort of umbrella, which is why I would just encourage people, keep your training varied and intelligent, and just because something does or does not make an appearance in the Open doesn't mean that the other things aren't wonderfully beneficial. You're probably not going to see 3x800 meter repeats in the Open for obvious reasons. Does that mean you shouldn't do them? I would say you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not doing something like that. What else could we say? Ring dips. Ring dips are awesome. They are phenomenal. Fast-paced ring dips in the Open are probably going to be really tough to judge en masse, so you're probably not going to see them. But when you see something like the rings worked in with a ring muscle up, there's a dip built in there, but they don't really have to worry about that bottom position of the dip or whatnot. As long as we see the athlete pass from below the rings to a locked out position on top of the rings, good to go. And so there are just concessions that have to be made in a competition environment, and those concessions don't have to be made in a training environment. And so I would just keep everybody's mind open to a competition environment, judging standards, space needed, equipment, all that kind of stuff, versus the flexibility that you have in a training environment. So I think that's about it. So hopefully that helps everybody. We can point everyone to this. Again, my plan is to do the Open every year, have a good time, and I take it in a very chill manner. And wherever you fall on the spectrum from chill to full-blown fanatic lunatic, there's something for everybody. So that's it. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and we will talk again later.